For a second, I want you to forget the Ferraris, toss the Lambos, and park the Bugattis, because China just gate-crashed the supercar party with something that makes the old legends look like they're still stuck in traffic. BYD, a company most people outside China only know for making affordable EVs and city buses, just dropped the U9 Track Edition, an electric hypercar that ripped through the record books at a jaw-dropping 293 miles per hour. Yes, you heard that right. 293 miles per hour. An EV, a so-called battery on wheels, just smoked the speed world, and this isn't some vaporware concept with fancy renders and impossible promises. This is real, it's running, and it's here to remind us that domination in the car world doesn't come from Italy, Germany, or America anymore. August 8th, 2025. ATP Papenburg, Germany. The kind of test track where legends are made and egos get crushed. On that morning, BYD rolled its bright yellow U9 Track Edition onto the tarmac, and what happened next didn't just rewrite the record books, it torched them. The official figure is 472.41 kilometers per hour, or 293 miles per hour for anyone who likes their disbelief measured in American units. Think about that for a second. That's faster than a commercial airliner at takeoff speed. And yes, this was an EV. No roaring V12s, no fuel-guzzling turbos, just batteries, motors, and sheer audacity. Now, let's talk about the science experiment on wheels that made this possible. At its core, the U9 Track Edition runs a quad-motor setup, each motor independently controlling a wheel. The combined output is about 2,958 horsepower, and that's not a typo. It's nearly 3,000 horses, working in perfect digital sync, thanks to torque vectoring that can shuffle power with surgical precision. The battery feeding this madness is an 80 kilowatt-hour pack. On paper, that sounds modest compared to the monster batteries in family EVs, but here, it's tuned for maximum discharge, delivering explosive bursts of speed rather than endurance. And because speed without grip is just a crash test waiting to happen, BYD partnered with Giddy to craft specialist tires capable of staying intact at nearly 300 miles per hour. Of course, the headline isn't just that BYD built a fast car, it's whose toes they just stepped on. Rimac Nevera held the crown as the face of electric hypercar dominance with a top speed of 258 miles per hour, which is absolutely impressive. But BYD just breezed past that mark by nearly 35 miles per hour, and in the hypercar world, that's not a gap, that's a canyon. As for the Aspark Owl, the Japanese contender that once promised to be the fastest EV in history, well, that's cute. It's claimed 249 miles per hour, which suddenly looks like yesterday's news. BYD didn't just beat them, it humiliated them. What makes this so deliciously ironic is that BYD isn't some boutique hypercar builder obsessed with prestige. This is a company that also makes city buses, taxis, and budget EVs for the masses. And yet, on a sunny August day in Germany, it casually reminded Europe and Japan that the era of supercar supremacy might just have new headquarters in Shenzhen. So, after that record-shattering run in Germany, the obvious question is, how the hell did BYD pull this off? Because going nearly 300 miles an hour in an EV isn't just about slamming big motors into a carbon shell. It takes engineering sorcery to make sure the car doesn't lift off, explode, or just melt into a very expensive cautionary tale. That's where the U9's tech comes in, and trust me, it's as wild as the speed itself. Now let's start with the baseline. The standard BYD U9 is already ridiculous, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2.3 seconds. Top speed around 309 kilometers per hour, powered by an 80 kilowatt-hour Blade LFP battery. This is BYD's pride and joy. It's safer, more efficient, and able to gulp down electrons at up to 500 kilowatts of DC fast charge. That's the kind of charging speed that makes Tesla's superchargers look like they're still waiting for dial-up internet to connect. But the Track Edition? Well, that's BYD turning the dial from fast to, you're kidding, right? Each of its 4 motors pumps out 555 kilowatts, stacking up to nearly 3,000 horsepower. And no, that's not just a marketing stunt, it's real, and it works. The genius isn't only in raw power though. With torque vectoring wizardry, the car decides in real time exactly how much juice each wheel gets. And then there's the part that really makes the U9 feel alive, the suspension. BYD's DiSus-X system doesn't just smooth bumps, it practically gives the car personality. It can adjust each wheel independently, keeping the chassis perfectly balanced even under brutal loads. In demos, it literally danced, hopping and bouncing on command like it was showing off at a talent show. It sounds like a gimmick, but I can promise you it's not. At 293 miles per hour, those same suspension tricks mean laser-stable handling and instantaneous correction when things get hairy. In short, the U9 isn't just brutally fast, it's agile, adaptable, and just cocky enough to throw in a dance routine between laps. And here's the part that really flips the stereotype on its head. Because when you hear Chinese hypercar, you might assume it's all brute force and spreadsheet. Fast numbers, no soul. But BYD knew that speed alone wouldn't win the argument, so they called in a heavyweight. Wolfgang Egger, the man who shaped cars at Alfa Romeo, Audi, and Lamborghini. If you've ever drooled over an R8 or sighed at a sleek Alfa Coupe, you've seen his hand at work. Now he's sketching lines for BYD, and the U9 shows it. This is a sculpture that belongs in the same conversation as anything rolling out of Maranello or Sonagata. But design is only half the story. The real question is, how does it drive? Numbers are fun for press releases, but performance lives and dies on a racetrack, and BYD didn't shy away from that test. In 2024, before its record-breaking run, the U9 clocked an unofficial Nürburgring lap of 7 minutes, 17.9 seconds. For context, that puts it in the neighborhood of serious legends, cars like the Porsche 911 GT2 RS and Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Let that sink in for a second. BYD, the company most people still think of as a budget EV maker, just built something that laps the green hell alongside Europe's finest. Behind the wheel, it's not just about fighting G-forces or bragging right. The U9 was engineered to feel alive in a driver's hands. Between the quad motors, the insane torque vectoring, and the DiSus-X suspension keeping it planted, the car doesn't just launch in a straight line, it dances through the corners. That balance between raw power and refined control is what separates fast from legendary. So, when you add it up, Wolfgang Egger's artistry on the outside, Nürburgring credibility on the inside, and a driving experience that doesn't terrify but inspires, you realize the U9 isn't just chasing hypercar status. It's demanding a seat at the table, and honestly, it looks pretty comfortable sitting there. So, with all that tech wizardry under its skin, the U9 didn't just run fast, it rewrote the pecking order. And the numbers speak louder than any marketing slogan ever could. Rimac Nevera once strutted around with its 268 mile/hour crown. The Aspark Owl tried to one-up it with 272. Both impressive. Both are headline worthy. Until BYD showed up and casually dropped 293 miles per hour like it was nothing. And here's why that matters. Rimac, Aspark, Bugatti, they've built their reputations on the idea that hypercar supremacy comes from boutique engineering shop, years of obsessive testing, and yes, lots of European flair. BYD, they came into this fight from the opposite end of the spectrum. For years, the brand was known for making high-volume EVs, affordable city cars, taxis, and buses. They were the people's champion, not the racetrack dominator. But in just a few years, BYD has flipped that script. They're no longer just the mass-market EV king. They've planted a flag in hypercar territory and basically announced, we can do your luxury, we can do your speed, and we can do it better. That's the shockwave here. The U9 isn't just a fast car, it's a message. A message that China's EV industry is no longer playing catch-up, it's dictating the pace. We're looking at a company that started by flooding cities with affordable EVs, then graduated to tech innovations like the Blade battery, and now, without missing a beat, is staring down the world's most exclusive hypercar makers and beating them at their own game. It's the equivalent of a budget smartphone maker suddenly dropping a device that outperforms the latest iPhone and selling it at half the price. The global stage has shifted. Europe can no longer comfortably claim heritage as a moat. Japan can't hide behind engineering purity, and America, well, Tesla's probably somewhere tweeting about how it doesn't care while quietly sweating bullets. The new reality is this: BYD isn't chasing the leaders anymore. With the U9, they've made themselves the leader. And here's where the U9 stops being just a shiny toy for speed freaks and starts to matter in the real world. Because yes, it is absurdly fast. Yes, it looks like rolling art, but it's also a car you can actually buy. The price tag is about 1.68 million RMB, which works out to roughly $236,000. That's still a lot of zeros, but let's be honest, it's not out of step with what Europe and America charge for hypercars that can't even sniff 293 miles an hour. In other words, BYD just made the world's fastest EV a relative bargain in the hypercar market. And now, while your average driver isn't going to commute at Mach 0.4, the technology trickles down. The same 500 kilowatt fast charging system that powers the U9's track runs means BYD is pushing infrastructure forward too. Think about this. The U9 can go from 0 to 80% in about 10 minutes. And with dual charging capability, it can pull power from 2 stations at once. Now, if that doesn't scream future-proof, I don't know what does. The implications are bigger than one hypercar. BYD has already proven it can dominate the volume market, and now it's showing that it can stretch the EV spectrum from buses to record-breaking hypercars. Europe is already bracing for their expansion, and once cars like the U9 start showing up on their roads, the narrative is going to shift. So, when we talk about the future of the auto industry, the U9 is more than a headline grabber. It's a symbol of where things are heading. Hypercar glory, real-world charging breakthroughs, and a price tag that undercuts Europe's finest while outperforming them. That ripple effect is clear. BYD isn't just selling EVs anymore. They're selling a future where Chinese engineering sets the standard and everyone else has to keep up. And now it's your turn. What do you think? Can Rimac, Aspark, Bugatti, or even Tesla rise to the challenge, or has BYD just lapped the competition for good? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.